All right, good morning, everybody. It is Jay again, and it is July here in Phoenix, Arizona. I do need to set this up just a little bit, but if you're one of those that likes to get the answer to the question really quick at the beginning of the video, well, the answer is do nothing. Absolutely do nothing. So there's your answer to your question. Now, for those of you that want a little bit more information on this and want to figure out what exactly is going on with this chlorotic condition of these plants, well, I'm here to answer those questions because I actually get quite a few questions about this time of year, in particular when the heat comes on. So what is going on with these plants, and what is chlorosis? So chlorosis is the event that happens to a plant. And normally when you see a condition like this happen, where you start to see the yellow and white leaves with the green veins, well, if it was normally on some plants, then I would tell you, yeah, okay, you start to panic. You need to get out there and feed the trees and add a little bit more nutrient to the soil so that these can pick up the nutrients that they need. So guys, chlorosis happens when the plant has the inability to pick up certain nutrients from the soil. And this usually happens in extreme alkaline soil where the plants cannot have enough nutrition to pick up certain metals that are going to green up the plants. In particular, some of those would be iron and zinc. A lot of those are going to help to green up these leaves and give the nutrition to the plant that it needs. But there is a case on some particular plants where they're going to do this no matter what you do. And no matter how much time and effort and money that you spend on trying to fix these plants by either adding additions to the soil, like a chelated iron, which is more or less a type of iron that can be absorbed into the plant a lot quicker. So if you put chelated iron on a plant, it will start to green it up a little bit. And that is if you have poor nutrients in the soil and you're trying to correct those conditions. But what happens a lot, guys, and especially during the heat of the summer, is a lot of these plants are going to gain this chlorotic condition because of the actual heat. And I'll tell you, one of the most notorious for that happening is going to be the starfruit tree or the carambola. I can almost guarantee you guys that every summer that the heat starts to come on, this plant is going to start to get a little bit chlorotic. Now, if it was a nutrient issue, then it would affect the older leaves also. So some of these would be chlorotic. Also, some of these brand new ones that you see here would be chlorotic. But you can actually see that there's sort of a gap there between the spring growth, which are these leaves here. And you can see that these are the normal color for Arizona, which is about that lime green color. It's not going to be an extremely dark green color. In Arizona, it's going to be sort of this lime green. And what this does is it keeps the tree from burning. So if you've got too dark of a green plant, especially like when plants are brought in from like California, for example, well, they're going to be extremely dark green, and they're going to burn the first couple of years until they start to lose those dark leaves, or those leaves will start to fade to sort of this lime green color anyway. So you end up with most of the plants in Arizona, especially during the summer, to be this kind of like this light green, lime green color. They're not going to be the dark green that they will do in the winter time. I can also give you another example. We'll come back here to the starfruit here in just a moment, but we'll look over here at these chicus. These are Chicu sapotes, and you can see that you can almost read them like a map. You've got a lot of these older spring leaves, which are nice and big and green. And then a lot of the leaves that are coming out during this time period are going to be this lighter leaf, which is a lot more adapted for the Arizona heat or for the desert heat. Now, you'll also notice that they're going to be a lot smaller. These new leaves during the summer are going to be much smaller than these big leaves that were put on during the springtime, okay? So one of the most important ways to kind of tell if your plant is healthy, is it's going to have sort of this sheen to it. So I don't know if you guys can see this in the video, but the way the light reflects off of these leaves, it gives you a sheen. So you can see that it is not exactly looks like it's wet, but it looks like it's glossy, okay? Now, when you have a plant that's glossy like that, the leaves are nice and green like that, you know that this tree is in about as best condition as it can be. In fact, trees that aren't watered as well or fed as well are going to be dull. So they're going to not have this sheen on it. In fact, when you look at the leaves, they are going to have sort of a dull, rough look to them. And that way you can tell that there's definitely not enough water going into these plants. But you can see they grow just fine during the summertime, but their behavior is going to be different. So you can see that the older leaves are going to be dark and a lot bigger, and the new leaves are going to be smaller, skinnier, and it's going to have faster, rapid growth during this time period. It's going to be tall and skinny. You can see the growth is not going to be short and stocky and thick like you would get during the cooler months, okay? So everything looks great out here, and usually the reason I kind of set up a little intro to this, or I kind of give you guys a look around, is because I want you guys to know the condition that your plants should look about the time that I do the videos. So this is done in the middle of July, and we have gained some humidity a little bit, which is the key to life, guys. That is the definite kicker and the definite thing that is keeping a lot of these plants alive after the June heat. Is you've got the humidity. You got to remember you're up to 50% humidity right now, whereas earlier in the year during the hot periods, it's going to be down, 15%, 10% humidity. So the humidity is definitely keeping the growth on these plants, and it's also keeping that sheen. Okay, so to go back to the chlorotic condition, you can see exactly when this happened. In fact, you can read your plants like a book, which is kind of neat. So you start up here in the spring and you've got all this beautiful big growth, right? Then you come down, then you've got a couple little branches there you can see to the side that are chlorotic, right? So you've got this one and you've got this one developing, or a little bit of this one. So that's June. I can see June right there. I can see where June's growth is. It's that leaf set and this leaf set. Now that we've hit July and we've gained a little bit of humidity and we've dropped the temperatures a little bit, you can see that we've gone back to our normal leaf growth, and you can see that that chlorotic condition is not affecting the new growth at all whatsoever. So what's a person have a tendency to do is a person has a tendency to want to do too much and to do more than you need to do. For some reason, as human beings, we have a reason to fiddle with things that we shouldn't be fiddling with, okay? We are not nature. We do not know exactly what these plants like. The plants like what the plants like, and if you can learn to read them like a book, you can see it on every single starfruit tree that I have out here. We've got that fall with that spring growth, blows into that June. June's right there. And then we get back into July and the cooler months. And what'll end up happening, guys, is you can't repair these. So don't think that by throwing a bunch of nutrients at this or spraying a bunch of stuff on the leaves that you're going to actually green these up, because these are probably not going to green up. These are probably actually going to wait till fall, and then these will just fall off anyway. You have to remember that a carambola or a starfruit, it leaf cycles faster than any other tree that you can imagine. So these are notorious, right, for getting yellow leaves. Let's see if I have any right now. I don't see any. That's usually during a growth period. So usually what will happen is you'll start to see this new growth on them, and you'll start to see a lot of the older leaves start to turn yellow and fall off, right? So see, this is an older leaf. Trees do not keep these forever. Okay, guys, they do not keep leaves forever. They have to go through a leaf cycle. But when you see that full yellow leaf like that, you see that perfect full yellow leaf, nothing else in there, then that means it's just an old leaf. It is spent. It is done. The plant has taken up back whatever nutrients that it needs back out of that leaf again, and it has turned yellow, and it's going to fall off onto the ground, right? So that's replaceable. So you'll always see that yellow leaf cycle happening on carambolas, and it's usually when you're starting to get the new growth again. okay? But I'm telling you, the chlorotic condition that you see on these is normal, or about as normal as you're going to get. So what do you do in this situation? Well, you don't do anything, okay? You just keep on doing what you're doing and wait till it cools down, because you guys know you're not outside during the summertime anyway. You're not out here with these, so just ignore them. Just let them kind of do their thing. Now, this happens on quite a few trees, and you got to remember it happens on the trees that like the cooler weather, okay? So a carambola is one of those. It's going to fruit during the winter, okay? It's going to bloom in November-ish. So this is a prime example, but there are quite a few examples of this. Another good example would be an apple. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to see if I can find an apple tree that has this same condition. But it's commonly known here, if everything else looks good on the plant and you know what you're doing, you have to ignore this. Now, if this is in a situation where it's another type of plant, especially citrus, the citrus is a good giveaway, guys, because if you've got citrus in the ground and it's starting to do this, well, then it more than likely needs a nutrient correction, okay? And how do you do that? Well, you're going to have to do it at the soil level. So you're going to have to fix these by adding compost or food. That's the only way you're going to green these back up again. Everything else is sort of a band-aid, okay? So if you put a foliar spray on these, is it going to green them up? It might temporarily, but if it's a true chlorotic condition on a plant, it's going to go back to that same condition anyway until you fix the soil, okay? You guys have to add a little bit of acidity. So the compost is doing that. When you add compost to your soil, you're adding that acidic organic material, which is now going to buffer the chlorotic alkaline conditions that you would get here from the heat. All right, so walking around a little bit here, I can find some other stuff that have this condition or what is going on with this condition. And it's the same thing, guys. I'm not going to correct this because I know once it cools down a little bit, it's going to fix itself. So this is a peach tree, and you can see also its older leaves are just fine. A lot of these are the spring leaves. Now you can literally see where summer came on. Okay, so this is June. Okay, now do you see how chlorotic this is? Right, I'm going to do nothing, and once it cools back down again, this will all green back up again. So really you can find this condition happening a lot on plants, and it's just a record, guys. Look, I'll show you another branch. Here's a peach. Good. Chlorotic, bam, right? So a person would have a tendency to want to try to fix this thing, but you shouldn't, okay? Because as soon as it cools back down again, here's a pretty good example right here. Here's your new growth again, okay? And it is not chlorotic at that point. It was just caused that from the heat. So you'll see this on a lot of plants, guys. It happens on apricots. Here's one right here. So you see you've got a lot of this older growth. It looks just fine. Especially in the middle of the summer, you would expect a lot of this to have already kind of burnt up again. But guys, there's not even any salt damage on those. So you can look at the older leaves. They're absolutely perfect, right? No nutrient deficiency, and that leaf goes all the way around, meaning there's no burning. There's no burning even on the tip of that, see? So there's no salt damage on these either. And I know the soil nutrients are up there. But if we come this way, right, and come up this branch, green, disaster, right? So a person would have a tendency to freak out. Let's try to fix these chlorotic leaves. What can we do? Well, I'm not going to do nothing because I'm cutting these off anyway, right? A lot of this is that summer vegetative growth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to prune these in the fall anyway. So I'm going to end up cutting down a lot of this upper branches, right? Now, I was going to see if I could find it over here on an apple, but I can almost really kind of find it on any plant during this time period. Here's a little mulberry with some, and I really wanted to, okay, apples, here we go. So you can see a lot of the older leaves are green. As we get up into here to these older leaves, you've got that chlorotic condition going on, right? Which, if you can see the new growth coming on some of these other plants, right, you can see that that's starting to go away. You can see that a lot of that is starting to fill back in again on its own, and I have done nothing to these. It's been cooling, guys. We've cooled in temperature. So a lot of this stuff has now gotten an opportunity to green back up and start to look good. So what do you do? The ultimate, what is the catch-all? What do I do? Guys, you don't do anything. You got to really know your plants and know your soil. So if you know the plant is really, if it's something like a carambola and it's going to go through that experience anyway, well, then you can't do nothing at all. Apples, nothing at all. Peaches, stone fruits, nothing at all. Things like citrus, yes, something like that's going to tell on you. So like I said, that's something that you want to fix, and you want to fix it at the soil level. All right, guys, I tried to keep it as short as I can. I know a lot of you guys don't like the longer videos, but it is what it is. I made it real short at the beginning for you guys, so hopefully that will satisfy everybody. All right, guys, please subscribe, and thank you for watching. Hit that like button if you like this video, and just know that during the desert heat, guys, it's a wonder half this stuff's even alive, let alone starts to look good. So I think a lot of people panic when they see this, and they expect all their plants to look great all year, and it ain't happening, guys. You live in the desert. All right, thank you for watching.